All right, hey everybody. Wow, we got good mic tonight. Wow, cool. All right, everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and call the Sustainability Advisory Commission meeting to order. Thank you for coming tonight. We have a few new folks that are joining us tonight, so welcome to, it's Megan and Thomas. Tomas. Thank you very much for joining us. And will staff please call the roll?
Stacy Gloss,
Present?
Tomas Delgado, Megan McGinty. Did I pronounce that correctly?
It's a hard G, McGinty.
McGinty.
Yeah.
Thank you. Andrew Stump,
Here.
Morgan White,
Here.
Tesfaye Wolde Medine, Scott Tess,
Here.
Maddie Garbage.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
I apologize. Dustin.
I'm here.
All right, thank you very much. Just so, Tomas, so you know, whenever you are speaking, if you can press the button on the microphone, it'll turn green. So I forget half the time. I'll try to remember tonight. All right, in your packets, everybody should have received the minutes from the previous meeting that we had, which was actually back in June. We did not have a meeting in July. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our June meeting?
So moved. So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you, Andy. Okay, is there any corrections or modifications to the minutes from the June meeting? Okay, everyone in favor of approving the minutes from June, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, that motion carries. Are there any additions to the agenda this evening or changes? Okay, I would just go ahead, if it's okay with everybody, I might just like to do a little bit of a go around, just introducing since we have some new members, and so I'd like to just introduce everybody if we're all okay with that. Okay, great. Who would like to start? I can start. All right. All right, hey everybody, I'm Stacy Glass. I'm the chair of the Urbana Sustainability Advisory Commission. I don't know how long I've been on the advisory commission for. It's been a couple of years now. And in this role, I'm very passionate about community sustainability issues. I have a background in mostly energy efficiency and community energy efficiency, particularly in residential buildings. So I do bring a passion for kind of energy and energy issues to the commission. Also a bit of an urban gardener. We have a farm kind of in our front yard on Vine Street. And so we like to garden and are very concerned about sort of like pollinators and pesticides and things like that. So the commission has been a really nice home for me, and I look forward to the kind of impact in the community engagement that we can all sort of do together to work on community sustainability issues together. Next.
Okay. My name is Morgan White. I am a full-time employee at the University of Illinois doing sustainability implementation. But when I'm here, I am representing just myself. So please remember that. I try to still be a good university representative, but I am here for me as a citizen of Urbana. And I was born and raised in Urbana. I love Urbana. And sustainability is, I like to say I was raised by hippies, and I've always been a tree hugger. But recently I've learned a lot about what goes into writing a plan and accomplishing the goals in that plan and addressing the hurdles. And so that's what I like about this group, is trying to identify what we can do and how to move forward. And I joined the commission, we just looked it up, shortly before the finalization of the Urbana Phase 2 Climate Action Plan. So my name's on it because I read it right before we approved it. Thanks.
My name is Andrew Stumpf. I'm vice chair of the SAC, sorry. And I work at the university at the Illinois State Geological Survey. So I'm a geologist, background with, in the past, looking at the Muhammad Aquifer and the geology of the waters resource. And then most recently, I've been looking at geothermal energy on campus and in this region. So that's my skill set I bring to the committee.
Dustin Allred. I think this is my second year on the commission. I think we also looked this up recently. I teach classes on urban sustainability and other topics in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning at the university. So my interest and expertise is more thinking about the connection between the built environment, urban form, and sustainability outcomes, whether it's energy use or pollution or what have you, equity issues. Yeah, so that's my background.
So I'm Maddie Garbus. I'm actually a high school student at Urbana High School. I'm the youth member on this council, and I've been on this committee 1 year tomorrow, which is what I was. So I am also here as a citizen, and I've been in Urbana for most of my life, and I really do care about the environment, and I'm hoping to lead other youth to committees like this.
Megan? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Megan McGinty. I bring not as much as it appears many of you bring to the commission or committee, except that I have a passion for sustainability. I'm 7 generations from Urbana, and I would like, as a member of this group, to do a little more outreach to some of our lower income communities here in Urbana, and to perhaps do a little more outreach to the schools, the Urbana schools. I am a K through 5 special education teacher for the dual language program at Leal Elementary.
Thank you so much.
My name is Tomas Delgado. I've lived in Urbana for about 5 years now. I'm the office administrator at the Cunningham Township Supervisor's Office, and my background's in geography, and I'm a current graduate student in GIS. And as an individual, I just been very passionate about sustainability for pretty much my adult life. But avid cyclist, and really just have a particular interest in land use. And as a township employee, the township, we've been trying to bring our programming and our facilities into a more just sustainable measure. So yeah, I just wanted to contribute to the committee as well as the community in that way.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you guys have had the chance to be introduced to either Marcus or Scott at this time yet. So Marcus, would you mind introducing yourself?
I'm Marcus Ricci. I'm a planner in the planning division for the city of Urbana. I serve as the liaison between SAC and Community Development Services Department. So if you have great ideas that I can share back with the department, or if I can bring requests or ideas from Community Development Services to SAC for getting input on things or feedback on things, that's my role here.
Great, thank you. And Scott?
I'm Scott Tess. I'm the Sustainability and Resilience Officer for the City of Urbana. I touch on potentially anything that has something to do with energy, water, waste. Been with the city for 7 years now.
Great. And then also we have, is it Tamara Corbin?
Yes, I'm
Here tonight, who'll be recording our minutes this evening, filling in for Amanda. And what do you work at the city?
I am the administrative assistant for Public Works Division of the City of Urbana.
Great. Thank you for being here. Okay. We usually have a public input portion for our meetings. Sometimes we have people in the audience, sometimes we don't. It's August, and so it's kind of like in between the school year. A lot of folks are gone and on vacations. So kudos to all of you for actually being here tonight with us. But so we usually, the way that we would do public input is that we ask for people, they can come up at the beginning of a meeting during this section, and they can talk about issues that they would like to bring up with us. But we've also opened up public input as well, so that if we have a topic or an agenda item that we're discussing during the meeting, we also provide an opportunity for a member of the public to comment on that as well or ask a question, and we can do that before we take action on that item. That hasn't been utilized very much in our meetings, but we would like to follow that format so that if somebody is sitting in the audience, you know, and I've done this where I'm sitting in an audience and I'm burning with a question or something, but then action is already taken on an item, it's really hard to kind of provide that sort of input at that point where something would be relevant. So we have decided that we can go ahead and take public input sort of at multiple points during the meeting, after, or sort of at the beginning of the meeting here, after the staff report, if people have questions about the staff report, after we've discussed the staff report, and then also if there is a item on the agenda to address. So with that, I will move into presentations. Scott, will you provide your staff report?
Sure. First, an update on Solar Urbana Champaign. The program has surpassed its first 1% discount benchmark, which is 50 kilowatts of capacity contracted. So that's a good sign. Solar Urbana Champaign is our bulk solar purchase program. We competitively select a single installer for a limited time fixed price offering, and then the more homes and businesses that sign contracts for new solar installations with the program, the lower the price goes. If I recall correctly, the next benchmarks are 150 and 250 for a possible total discount of 3%. That's on top of lowering the price through our competitive bid model, and we partner with the Midwest Renewable Energy Association on that project. Next, I've got some information regarding the electric supply for the city. We participate in municipal electric aggregation in Urbana. What that means is we competitively select a retail electric supplier for all residences, and this is per state statute, and then we opt in all of the residents into that electric supply agreement, sending them a letter allowing them to opt out and choose either Ameren or another retail electric supplier if they so choose. So every year Ameren resets their electric rates, and so I'm noting here that the rates currently for Ameren supply are a little bit lower cost than Urbana's municipal electric supply. However, we're buying renewable energy credits to green all of our power that we purchase through municipal electric aggregation. So it's not exactly an apples to apples, but just wanted to share that. An update on our landfill solar project. The city owns a closed municipal landfill, and that's where the Landscape Recycling Center operates on top of, but there's another 40 acres of unused space, and so we have a competitively selected, actually qualifications-based selected landfill solar developer who has a lease option to develop a solar array on that property. which would result in the city being paid a annual lease rate for 20 or 25 years, depending on the circumstances. That developer has applied for state/utility company incentives as part of one of the sub-programs in the Future Energy Jobs Act. The sub-program is the Solar for All Low-Income Community Solar Incentive. So that's a merit-based selection, not a lottery selection like the last selection we were participating in. And so it's a points-based system. If there was a recent notification from the state's consultant on the project that there may be scenarios where multiple projects end up with the same score. In such a case, then that would be lotteried within people in that score. But the first cut is a merit-based, points-based cut. So they're supposed to announce that in August. Everything with the Future Energy Jobs Act seems to be delayed because it's a huge bill, a huge law. So I'm expecting September we'll know if we win that incentive. If we win that incentive, then we will go back to the developer, convert the lease option into a long-term lease, and then they will build the project. And the city would likely be an anchor tenant in terms of taking some of the electricity produced by the project.
That is the landfill project, is that correct, or is that for a different site?
Landfill. Mm-hmm. An update on some staffing. I don't know if I mentioned, I just kind of mentioned Landscape Recycling Center. Let me see if I mention it below. In any event, I've recently been given a role with the Landscape Recycling Center. I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't think this came up at a previous meeting. Did it? Okay. So I'm supervising the business side, or at least some portions of the business side of the Landscape Recycling Center. As part of that, we published today an invitation to bid for fiber optic cable installation that would go to the ticket booth at the Landscape Recycling Center. Right now, they're not connected to anything except electricity and a copper wire telephone line, which doesn't work well when it rains. So with fiber optic, we can move telephone to fiber optic, voice over internet. We can explore adding credit card swipe to the cash register. There's never been credit card acceptance at the Landscape Recycling Center before. We can station an internet-connected computer for staff in the ticket booth to work on projects between customer service. So this adds a lot of potential functionality for the ticket booth. Moving on, the city and the Integrated Pest Management Institute have scheduled dates for public engagement activities for our natural lawn care, well, their and our natural lawn care program, Midwest Grows Green, and that's on the dates are on the agenda. I have some notes about some public engagement. We had interviews regarding Solar Urbana-Champaign on WCIA and WAND. Presented again regarding Solar Urbana-Champaign on an Environment America webinar, and we've been tabling at community events, especially the Urbana Market at the Square. We've done a series of tabling events for Solar UC there. U-Cycle is continuing to work on developing good recycling practices at new developments. In that vein, we've shared information with building safety and I think planning as well to help developers ensure they make plans for adequate space for not just the garbage cans, but also the recycling cans, which are required by city code. We're also working on a new process for corn cob food scrap collection at the Urbana Sweet Corn Festival. In the past, we have had collections for corn cobs with the intent of delivering them to the Landscape Recycling Center to turn into compost. However, every year there is some complication. The load gets contaminated by garbage in the middle of the night after the event is over and people are cleaning up, or the load never gets delivered to the Landscape Recycling Center the next day by the garbage hauler. So we are removing some of the variables and reducing the scale of this effort to try and create a clean load that actually gets delivered to the Landscape Recycling Center. So we're going to have a very small number of small cans. We're going to keep them in city staff control at all times, and we're going to deliver them to the Landscape Recycling Center ourselves. And hopefully this will lead to kind of a pilot test of food scrap composting at the Landscape Recycling Center, which typically only accepts landscape trimmings. Here's the personnel note. Assistant City Engineer Brad Bennett, who's been with the city for many years, recently took a position at the Urbana-Champaign Sanitary District. Brad's duties regarding the city's closed landfill and the management of the Champaign-Urbana solid waste disposal system, which is responsible for a portion of what I generally consider the Urbana closed landfill, have been transferred to myself. So I'll be spending some time getting up to speed and supervising the leachate collection system and the leachate testing regime. We collect leachate and we send it to the sanitary district, which is conveniently located next to the landfill for treatment. And that's an effort to keep potentially hazardous leachate from entering any aquifer or surface water.
Hey, Scott, do you have some information about how the leachate is captured now? And I was also wondering if we know, is there methane capture at the Urbana landfill?
To your first question, from an engineering standpoint, I don't have the schematics in my head of how the leachate collection system is designed, but it captures stormwater that has, fallen on the landfill, penetrated through the clay cap, and gone to some depth within the landfill. And we have two different pumps set up in two different locations to collect that leachate. It gets pumped directly to the sanitary district. We submit test results to them so that they have a sense of what they are getting and what they should charge us for the treatment. Your second question was?
Do you know if is there any methane capture?
Methane production from closed landfills is substantially in the early years of the closed landfill's life. This is a very old landfill, especially, some parts are, 100 years old, some parts are 30 years old. It's an old landfill, and there was a examination of methane production many years ago, and it was determined that there was not a recoverable amount.
Thank you.
And I think the next note is really for Stacy. She wanted to explore the possibility of getting city-branded shirts for commission members.
I contacted Kate Brickman, who is the mayor's assistant, and she provided me with a box of t-shirt designs that I have at the table behind us. There's a bunch of different colors in there. So after the meeting, I'm hoping that we can hang around for a few minutes to just decide on a color, and if you would like a shirt, what size you would like, and then I can go about getting those sort of priced out and ordered. I was told that none of the shirts were more than $15, so they seemed fairly affordable. If affordability is an issue, just please talk to me after the meeting. But I'd like to explore that. So the reason for this would be that if we're out volunteering at a community event in the sort of SAC role or SAC capacity, or if we're maybe volunteering, for example, at the Sweet Corn Festival. I don't think we'll have the shirts in time for that, unfortunately, or maybe I need to look into it if it could be expedited. But if you're volunteering at an event, we could wear sort of a City of Urbana branded shirt, and I can work with the City of Urbana as well to have the city's logo, but also like Sustainability Advisory Commission or SAC or something underneath, so we can discuss that after as well if we have any ideas for what we want that branding to look like, since Sustainability Advisory Commission is a long amount of letters to put across a shirt. Was there anything else on the report?
The next meeting would be September 3rd at 7 p.m. upstairs in the executive conference room.
Thank you. Are there any questions about the staff report for Scott? Okay, none tonight. The next item on our agenda is a discussion of the Urbana Comprehensive Plan implementation strategies. In the staff packet, we had sent out some questions for us to explore about the comprehensive plan. What I think I'm going to do is switch roles and bring my laptop to the center table so that I can actually put a document on the screen behind us so I can take some notes as we're going through our discussion. What I hope to gain after the discussion this evening is an idea about what are some of the priority topics that we want to learn more about, and also areas that seem pretty important for the SAC to address. I will say, since we have some new members, that this is the first time that I've ever assigned homework, sort of, as part of an SAC meeting. It's not typical or usual, but as we are exploring ways for the SAC and the work that we do to be infused more into the community and to kind of have have more impact throughout city practices in the areas that we can. It's important for us, I think, to understand what the existing structures are and what the existing plans are at the city. It's kind of hard to just know. We're sitting here, it's hard to say, I have an idea, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take that idea and we're just going to tell Scott to either do it or send it to the mayor's office or send it to a city council meeting. Like, it kind of, I mean, we could do that, but the way to get things done is for us to do a little bit of research and to know where we're going. So I would really like for us to have this discussion, and hopefully everybody came prepared. So I'll go ahead and I'll move to the speakers table. Just as I'm going ahead and I'm getting a Word document set up here, does anyone have any questions before this discussion? Just so I can get an idea of what questions you may have. I can use this computer.
I have a question, but I think it's for Marcus. Hey, Marcus. So this is the comprehensive plan for the city of Urbana. What's sort of the time frame for a new comprehensive plan? Is it a 10-year, 20-year? Is there some thought on where the horizon is?
We just, as staff, we worked on ideas for a work plan, which is a new thing for the planning division. And it is one of the priorities. I think the hope is that the early 2020s would see an update. And it's, we're exploring funding and who would do it if it would be in-house, if it would be in-house assisting an out-of-house consulting firm. Yeah, but it is on our to-do list.
Thank you. Can you make that a lot bigger? Or a little bigger? 110% or something?
Sure, I can.
While
and I will.
Stacy's setting that up, maybe, Marcus, you can say, what is a comprehensive plan?
So the comprehensive plan is, in short, is the vision that the city has for itself, fed by public input, often through public engagement sessions, but also then funneled through city council people who vote and adopt the comprehensive plan. And as opposed to, say, the zoning ordinance, which is a regulatory document that helps implement its law, it helps implement the comprehensive plan, again, by different boards and commissions like the Zoning Board of Appeals or the Plan Commission or the Historic Preservation Commission, voting on proposals or requests by citizens to do things or requests by developers to build things or change things. And we often say, how does this jibe with the comprehensive plan? Is it in keeping with the vision that the people have spoken about, or is it not in compliance with that vision? It is a living document. It's kind of a not super dynamic document. You can make an amendment to the comprehensive plan. That's often done if somebody wants to do a development or rezone an area that, say they want to do a commercial mall. And in the comprehensive plan in 2005, folks said, that'd be a really great neighborhood, or that'd be a really great school or hospital area. And that was 14 years ago, so maybe the people would prefer to see a mall there now. So in addition to coming to the various boards to say, let's rezone this commercial, you would also say, let's amend the comprehensive plan to show this as a future commercial area rather than as a neighborhood. And it has, at the end of it, as Scott has provided, a lot of different implementation strategies on how to make the comprehensive plan come to life. That's about it.
I have a question as well. One of the things that, so part of the SEC is that the SEC worked on developing the Urbana Climate Action Plan, and each month Scott provides a report on the different activities that his office is working on as it relates specifically to goals that are in that plan. In the 2005 comprehensive plan that I have before me, as part of the implementation program, we see what the goal, what the strategy is, what the goals and objectives are, but it doesn't show what progress has been made on particular implementation strategies. How does the city keep track of that?
I would say that it probably does not. It certainly, as far as I know, and I've only been here 2 years and I'm pretty low down on the food chain, but it is not as organized as Scott has with the Climate Action Plan. There are a lot of things, as I was paging through the implementation strategies, I can say we've done that and we've done that, and as far as I know, we haven't done that, and I think we did that 10 years ago, but that would be an interesting study to see where we are on those things. And I'm sure that when we update the comprehensive plan, that'll be, one of the earliest steps.
Okay, that's actually very helpful. Okay, so first, are there any other questions at this time? Okay, So the questions that were proposed in the packet are, what are your top 5 strategies that you want the commission to study to have a positive impact to urban sustainability in our community? And so I would like it if the group just kind of went around and wanted to provide their strategies. So let me just back up a second. So the idea was to have kind of like a flip chart and or a whiteboard with sticky notes, and everybody could sort of write things down and put their ideas onto the board. And then what we would do once everybody's sort of top 5 strategies to study were up there, or however many that you thought were appropriate for us to study, that then we could kind of go around and do the activity with sticky notes where we would vote on sort of the top 5. So we could distill down, if we're going to have maybe 5 priorities that we would like to study over the next 12 months, that we could distill those from what would be a group of like 5, 10, 15, 20, like 35 ideas into just 5, and to discuss those and see which ones we thought that would be the most appropriate sort of together, and that the group had the most interested in tackling. And then the same thing would be for the top 3. I don't have the sticky notes and the pens and sort of the interactiveness, so we're just going to put it up here. And I think that this is actually okay too, because it gets captured this way both on video and on screen. And so if folks did go back to this meeting at some time, they'll be able to kind of see the thought process and the discussion as it happened. Yes.
So I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page. I was looking at the top 5 strategies, or I was actually just looking at which strategies am I interested in from the list in the comprehensive plan, starting on page 87. So I just read the strategies.
Yeah.
Page 86, excuse me. And it's not PDF page 86, but the page number 86. And so it's not like general, it's within the plan. And I also, because I am on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, I skipped all of those. And there's a lot that are related to sustainable transportation. But I left those out because I see this group as, we are supportive of that group, but they are highly involved in promoting those items. So that's why mine don't have any of those. And there's a lot. There's probably 10 or 15 that were related to that in some way. So I just wanted you to know where I was coming from.
Yeah, so no, I think you read that correctly, which was to think about those top 5 strategies. The one difference would be that the next question was going to be, what are your top 3 that you want the commission to become actively engaged in to have an impact? So I was thinking about those questions sort of as, you know, there's things that we can study, but then there's also things that we want to like actively be engaged in. I think that there can absolutely be overlap between those, but I thought, you know, there's a possibility that those could be different as well. The things that you're just interested in and want to learn more about, that for some future date we need to just file that information away, versus these are the things we want to actively do right now. So I want to leave that possibility open, but again, overlap is welcome. If you also have a different set of questions or have a question that you thought was sort of appropriate for this little sort of mini exercise, please let me know as well. I think I'm open to sort of hearing other ideas, not just how I phrased, you know, the top 3 strategies or the top 5.
So I brought a list. So should I start? I'm like that. I'm like that. Let's just get started. Okay.
Yes, but go slow because I'm going to type.
You're going to type the strategy?
Yeah.
Let me shorten it for you. I'd like to know more about the ensuring adequate review of proposed plans. It goes on, but I don't think you have to write that part.
Okay.
So it goes on to say, propose site plans and subdivisions by impacted agencies such as the MTD, the Urbana Park District, and the Champaign County Planning and Zoning, so that design issues in new developments can be fully addressed. But I'd like to learn more about how our site plans, what is the review? Is there, when's the most effective time for someone in this group or someone who cares about sustainability to speak up about a proposed new development or building? So this one is a separate strategy, but it is very similar. And it says, consider a program to incentivize green buildings. And then the long version is, consider a program of zoning and development incentives for new development that incorporates a high level of energy efficiency in building designs, such as green buildings, promote use of the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design LEED system for public buildings. So I'd like to know, what do we currently have in that realm, if anything, and what has been considered and what we could consider as far as that. And it's not just for me, it'd be not just energy, but greenery. So the LEED does all the different pieces. Okay? The next one I picked out was adopt a hazard mitigation plan. And this one ties to the resilience task force or working advisory team that the university's pushing, or created a team. Scott's on it, I'm on it. There's other folks from the communities, the county, and the university, looking at how do we address the impacts of natural disasters, which to me is about climate change and flooding and increased storms and the tornadoes that went through. What can we do to address those and be proactive about it and not just reduce our impact on the environment, but really prepare for and adapt to the changes that are happening now. Okay. The next one I have is, I thought this was a really neat idea. I didn't know this was in there. Study the feasibility of future municipal ownership of utilities such as water and power. Oh yeah, Scott can be in charge of it all. You don't have to write that in the minutes. I'm interested in what it would look like. I know that Rantoul has done that for at least their power, if not their water. I'd be curious how, if we did become, if the municipality owned more of these utilities, how would that impact our ability to reduce our greenhouse gases? I've got two more. So another one is, let's see, it says, I'll call it develop a regional detention strategy. This is about flooding, but this particular one is very specific. It says, in East Urbana to help mitigate flooding problems along US Route 150 east of High Cross Road. But I think it's something that we need as a whole community. We've been talking about it in various ways, and I'd really like to see action at the, I know there's been movement, like the stormwater master plan that's being started or in the plans, it's in the works, I should say, for Public Works. So developing a regional detention strategy. And then the last one I called out was the study the impact of requiring street lighting in new residential development. I was just reading through the list. I don't know what the question was there. What's the impact of requiring street lighting? I think we need to look at the Dark Skies Initiative and LED lights, but I also think we need safety, so it's interesting. I'd like to see where that's at, if it's happened, and that's it. dark skies, and LEDs. Thank you. And bi-level LEDs.
Great. Thank you for the list. Are there others?
Sure, I can go with the ones that I've identified. There's one, at least one is the same, and that was the strategy about incentivizing energy efficiency and LEED certification in buildings. So I would put another tick next to that one, or however you want to keep track of these.
I'm gonna put like a 1 star for your vote on that. Okay. I'm just gonna do a star like that, so I'm afraid that maybe parentheses, star parentheses means something that I don't know. Okay.
Okay, so aside from that one, there was a strategy about amending the zoning ordinance and the subdivision code to allow for or include what's referred to as traditional neighborhood development, TND, which is basically a sort of more urban type of subdivision, suburban type development. So, which
Mixed use property.
could be mixed use, it could be more walkable, it could be focused on a center that's connected via transit. There's lots of ways that this could be a more sustainable alternative to conventional suburban development. So I'm curious if that's happened or not. One of the strategies talked about conducting an inventory map of environmentally sensitive areas within the city and the extraterritorial jurisdiction, so the areas outside of the city that the city has influence over, to determine where the appropriate areas were for future development. I think this is critical just in terms of thinking about where it is most suitable or not suitable to prioritize new development, assuming that new development on the fringe of town is going to happen, although it would be nice if everything was infill, but that's probably unlikely. So, strategy about working with the owners of the Lincoln Square Village and historic Lincoln Hotel to transform the mall. I think that's something that we've talked about, and it's something that the city is actively working on. But I think that's something that's important to continue, just in terms of creating a sort of vibrant mixed-use downtown that can start to attract more residential development and focus more people in the core of the city. And then the last one was something about developing transit-oriented design, so TOD type provisions, I assume in the zoning ordinance for what they refer to as the Springfield Avenue corridor, which has a lot of transit that runs along it, so it makes sense that any new development or redevelopment along there would intensify and incorporate some of these transit-oriented development guidelines. So, yeah, that's it.
Great. Are there others?
I'll go next.
Okay.
So I thought with the LEED idea, we actually look at widening the renewable energy infrastructure, not just to commercial and both and the private, and see if we could actually develop a strategy on how you could make these broader entities, broader systems, rather than just a single entity. They could all be connected in some way. So a neighborhood would have one energy source versus every house having their own. So there'd be a strategy for new development in that sense.
Is this like, I'm just thinking about how to like write that thing.
Could you call that district heating and cooling?
Sure, okay.
I was gonna say like distributed generation
Mhm.
or small scale distributed generation.
So think of,
district heating
think of the subdivision, think of the developer as the,
What Andy's getting at is instead of 10 houses having 10 different systems,
Right.
10 houses have one shared system.
and it could be any, it could be solar, it could be geothermal, it could be, depending on what they want to do. Other one I had was the map of sensitive areas, and I was wondering if you could actually think about going further and saying, we want to actually establish sensitive areas out in front of development. So make more sensitive area if that's proper, if not.
Could I put a star?
You can put a star
by-
beside that, sure.
But can you mark make his comment about possibly like adding a wetland, kind of, when you say develop more sensitive areas, you mean
Or even if you're,
protected?
if you're having to remove one, replace it with another one. So, I think Lake County did this when they were developing in the 2000s. They actually bought land or had donated land, and they actually put that towards sensitive areas or parks or whatever.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to look on your list here, the hazard plan. I think I'd call that resiliency more than hazard mitigation.
So I'm gonna
Mhm.
add a star on the hazard mitigation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
I'll stop there. That's good.
Thank you. Maddie or Megan or Tomas?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think I have 5, and
That's okay.
I really like some of these, but I really liked the one, explore grants and incentives that can be used to, and that's the wrong one. There's so many of them. Let me find it. Oh my gosh, I can't find it. So many little tables.
Oh, you
Yes. Thank you. Well, you know what? I know what it said. The one where it was like explore grants for relocating existing buildings or future buildings underground. Thought that was a cool one.
Was this, I just want to see, was it the one that said explore grants and incentives that can be used to encourage relocating existing and future utilities underground?
That sounds about right. Yes.
Okay. No, you're fine. I just, yeah, I did like a find and saw that. I want to make sure it was correct. Okay.
Yeah, I can share my list.
Sure.
So, like others, I was interested in the construct a inventory map of environmentally sensitive areas, with maybe a consideration of what would be considered an environmentally sensitive area, as well as what possible conservation and protection efforts could be made for those areas apart from development. And the rest I can just list off.
Give me just a second to change a font
Sure.
size on some of the notes. Okay, go ahead.
The study for feasibility of future municipal ownership of utilities was another interesting strategy. The coordinate with Urbana School District on long-term need for new elementary school in North Urbana.
On that, it's not in this strategy plan, but sort of allied with that is in a grocery store.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like exploring the idea, like is the North Urbana sort of like a food desert?
Mhm. And then following that, the development of a TOD provision for development along Springfield Avenue corridor.
Say that, I'm sorry.
The transit-oriented design provision for development along Springfield Avenue.
Okay.
And then the, I think this is already an existing effort, but it still stuck out to me, was the explore grants and other funding opportunities to support completion of sidewalk network outlined in the City of Urbana Capital Improvements Program.
I just have a question. Is there sort of like I don't know, is there like an Urbana Complete Streets kind of effort that might go along with that, or am I making this up?
The Regional Planning Commission is working on a pedestrian master plan right now to follow up on the bicycle master plan. But even lacking that, there is already the annual capital improvements plans include sidewalk improvements, and they probably have a slate of, horrible to decent sidewalks that they're working on throughout the years.
Also, we've adopted a complete streets policy years ago. We've adopted a complete streets policy years ago.
Which means?
Complete streets is a concept that encourages multimodal street design, so a street that can accommodate cars, bicycles, pedestrians, disabled, tree lane,
Bus stops.
a building face that approaches the sidewalk, so on.
Kind of related to this conversation, sidewalk completion, and it's also kind of related to the development of the entrances into the city, and one of them being Lincoln Avenue. Are there any, can I just ask this question right now? Are there any developments underway? Lincoln Avenue is very unfriendly to any bicyclist, and I'm just waiting for one of them to get nailed, because people fly down that street 60 miles per hour. The sidewalks are also right next to the street where people are flying down at 60 miles per hour, and they've now developed, first there was one, and now there's the retreat. And so there's an increase in the number of potential pedestrians and bicyclists, yet I don't see anything formulated that sees to the needs of those folks in terms of bike lanes or really genuinely safe, wide sidewalks. Am I making myself clear? Sorry.
Yep.
No, you're making yourself very clear. One of the issues, especially as you get further north on Lincoln Avenue, is that there isn't much room to work. So short of taking out a lane of traffic to put in bicycle lanes, and that would be something that, I don't have memorized what the bicycle master plan has laid out for Lincoln Avenue. I don't believe it includes bike lanes on it. because that would include taking out driving lanes, because there aren't even areas of parking where you could take parking out of Lincoln Avenue, as well as the right-of-way, which is the street portion as well as the sidewalk portion, is very narrow there, and it's right on the street. So as we are doing more new developments, like for Gather, which is the new development that's going to be going on at the southeast corner of Lincoln and University, they are working on getting more either right-of-way dedicated or increasing the setbacks so that they can include buffers between the sidewalks and the car travel lanes. 200 South Vine is being developed now, and they are pushing that development further east from the street so that they can, I believe, relocate the sidewalk a few feet east of the street and then put in landscaping there. So the city is aware of the issues with people who bicycle and people who walk along streets where people drive as well, and where possible, we're trying to add separation there.
Just because it would be great if they could ride bikes. And it just feels like all of Lincoln Avenue just compels you to get in your car, these students, instead of getting on, walking or taking mass transit. There aren't enough mass transit stops along Lincoln Avenue. It just doesn't seem like there's enough support for anything sustainable on Lincoln Avenue. I don't know how else to put it. It just seems-
One of the important philosophy planks of the Complete Streets policy is that there won't always be facilities for every mode in every situation. Sometimes there might be a lower need for that mode, but sometimes you just can't fit it in. Like, you're not always going to have buses going up and down every street. You're also not going to have dedicated facilities for bicycles to go up and down every street. That's not to say that they're not allowed to bicycle there. It might not be the most comfortable ride or the most easy ride, but bicycles are by law allowed to ride wherever a car can drive. It's not necessarily the most easy ride, but there are streets where there just will never be bicycle lanes.
But you're not saying that it will never happen on Lincoln Avenue. You're just saying there are some situations where it won't happen, ultimately. The way you just said never made it sound like, and never on Lincoln.
I
mean,
don't think that there
it's
will ever
not
be
easy.
bicycle lanes on Lincoln as a city planner. That's just my personal opinion. I don't believe it's included in the bicycle master plan. It could be, and I would refer folks to that.
So can I just ask, speaking of the bicycle master plan, since we are the sustainability commission, will there be thoroughfares near Lincoln so that people that live in these massive developments that have come up, on University and Lincoln, and they're all kind of close together, and then the one, can't remember the name of the whole thing, further down on Lincoln, is there going to be some sort of plan so that individuals who want to bicycle will have alternate routes to the university since they can't take Lincoln? Sorry, I'm taking too long on this.
So I know the answer to that is Goodwin Avenue. Goodwin Avenue has bike facilities from Bradley to Gregory Drive on campus. There are 8-foot wide side paths when you're north of University or north of Springfield, and then it's on-street bike lanes. So it's actually one of our first complete streets. It was the second complete street where we added bike lanes in the street and took out some parking. But it's an ongoing process. Ooh, let me plug. So, and for the university students that you're talking about, we do have a new website, bike.illinois.edu. So check it out.
Okay. Sorry, I don't think we got everybody. Did you have any items to add to the list?
I I think that's enough items,
Great.
and they're pretty solid.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure that I get everybody. And also just, I just want to go back and sort of like speak to sort of like what you brought up as sort of a like broader question of the Sustainability Advisory Commission, is that like sometimes we have these sort of questions that, you know, Morgan is able to answer because she's on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, and Marcus is here because he's a city planner. So one of the questions that sometimes comes up and that we sort of like think about is, so when we have questions like this, is where do we take them? And then also like, so how do we take these questions if there is some sort of action that needs to be taken? There is sort of a broader question of what does that action look like? And I think that we're sort of, as a commission, I've been sort of grappling with these questions and also trying to like figure that out as we sort of move forward with the SAC, which is, you know, is there a recommendation in sort of the question? Is there a study in that? You know, any member of the commission can make a motion to say, I propose that we further study, you know, this question, and then that motion can be sort of voted on as a committee. So we can study issues, we can kind of get to understand them, and bring people in to get more feedback and input, you know, about kind of what's going on. And then the next step becomes, well, what's next sort of in that political process? And I think that that's the part that we're figuring out. I'm somebody that's like, well, can we have a pathway, for example, that might not be on Lincoln Avenue, but I don't feel like I could just bring that up and say like, here's what needs to happen, and here's the recommendation to a commission for that, or to the city council for that. That we're figuring out the process of what that looks like when we have sort of recommendations or ideas that we want to bring forth kind of to the city. And so thank you for kind of bringing up the discussion that you did. I think that it's an important one that we're having. Okay. So I had a couple as well, but the ones that really struck out to me have been covered in here. So I could put extra stars or not, or we can sort of move into something where we review these ideas and maybe come up with the top 5 strategies that we want us to study together, if the commission is feeling like you have the energy to kind of continue that discussion and boil this down tonight. Yes.
Can I add one? I don't think I heard it. In the implementation strategies, page 96, the last item, amend the current plan unit development ordinance to better accommodate master plans incorporating mixture of uses and subdivisions. Amend might not be the only thing, but influence or ask for certain things.
Let me go back. I want to try and get that. The amend the. Okay, so you said amend. Amend with what?
plan.
It's page 96. I'm going to move one of these mics in here, get a little feedback.
Oh, thank you.
Stacy, it's amend the current planned unit development ordinance to better accommodate master plans incorporating a mixture of uses and subdivisions.
You could shorten that, explore PUD process for sustainability.
Thank you. PUD stands for, just so everybody knows.
Planned unit development.
Got it. It's in there. Okay.
Can you switch it to numbers just so we know how many we have there? Just highlight everything and click on the number thing at the top instead of the, yeah. And then could we go through and just do sort of a show of hands of which ones we think should be in the running for our top priorities, and maybe just do a quick, can we do that, like a poll?
One alternative pathway would be to put these up on a ranked choice Google poll. And
Do it later?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too.
Great. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you if you had any additional items that you were interested in. And Marcus, I wasn't sure, was there anything that you were bringing tonight that you would want us to see covered or to have considered?
So just, folks should keep in mind that this document was done in 2005. A lot of things have happened since then. We've done a lot of things. New situations have come up. So there might be implementation strategies that aren't in here. So I would also encourage you to look a little earlier in the comprehensive plan at the goals and objectives section, which starts around page 50. And there's 50 goals, so there's still a lot of goals. But I went through and I found, and I can share these with Stacy, probably 12 goals that I think the Sustainability Advisory Commission, could really be helpful in giving their input on. They are things, it's Urbana's new neighborhoods, the environment, Urbana's unique character. I'll provide this to you. You don't have to write them all down. Sensible growth, Urbana's downtown, and multimodal transportation system. One of them I'd like to throw out, as Scott did, under sensible growth, goal number 20 is encourage the development of new planned neighborhoods. So, not just planning subdivisions out in the hinterlands on the edge of the city, but looking at new infill neighborhoods where it's not just 2 or 3 houses, but where there might be open space involved, or there might be, community amenities. It could be transit-oriented development. It could be mixed use, so you have a grocery store in there or cleaners.
May I just ask, is that sort of, just so that I understand what you're talking about, just recently on Market Street in Champaign, they built in an area that had buildings on it and had been basically just decayed over time.
Mm-hmm.
So would this be the use of like where there is an old hotel, or on Philo Road, maybe the development where there are buildings that have stayed vacant?
Sure, or it could be a completely undeveloped piece of land like down on Colorado Avenue. The Housing Authority is taking a 10-acre piece of land that's always been green. But it also could be, taking, a few parking lots that aren't necessary and turning it into a mixed-use development that might be housing and professional, or it could be professional and recreational. It could be something like a library with housing in it, but just a planned neighborhood. So it isn't just a housing development, but there are other community amenities involved in that. So just don't get stuck too much in the implementation strategies that are in this document. Think outside the box, look at the goals, assume that the goals are probably still similar as they were in 2005, and think of other ways you can think of to implement them.
Okay. So we have 16 possible options to explore a little bit further. The goal was to kind of find the top 5 strategies that we want the commission to study, and we had a proposal that this could be going forward, something where we send out something to all members of the commission through a doodle poll to do a ranked choice selection process. We can send the doodle poll one way. We cannot have conversation about it internally as a body. A couple members of the commission at one time, so I can have a conversation with Tomas, for example, offline, but with the Open Meetings Act rules in Illinois, just so we all know, like, we couldn't have like 3 people talking about it from the commission all at once. So, no, I think that's all good, just providing a little bit of background information.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
So, just because we're all sort of just getting into this, I mean, I picked these out today during dinner. Could we
What
do
if you
it?
want to edit that? What if you have edits or changes or
Well,
additions?
what I'm wondering is, could it be a survey? So it's not, I think I don't know what Doodle poll is always for scheduling for me, but whatever it is, a survey that is just, you submit your own answers, right? And then you can collect them and bring them next time, right? But that's not just ranking, it's maybe a couple questions, like here are all the things. Do you want to keep this as a priority? Is it one that you think is a high priority? Like just yes or no and high or not? And then what are your thoughts? So we get some thoughts. So I can say, like, I want to know, I want to bring someone in to tell us the status of this particular situation. Or I want us to find out what other communities are doing in this arena. Or I want us to host a workshop and invite all the high school students to come and tell us what they wish the sustainable developments look like in the future. That sort of
So it sounds like, so you're asking for, so in addition to sort of having the ranked choice or sort of voting on what the topics could be, you're also interested in providing feedback and questions about what would the action items be after identifying said goals. Yeah?
yeah.
If I'm not
No,
totally sure that I'm like
really-
getting the vision, would
That's
you
really what
wanna
I'm talking about. It's
help me
just
with
that it's
that?
more than just
Okay.
the ranking, that we put in some thoughts,
Sure,
since we're all going to be going through it anyway.
sure. I can do that.
What if the ranked choice can have an option for comments? I don't know if that's possible in
Yeah,
Google
it's-
or not, but
Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Well,
I don't know the survey system that you're
because
talking about.
even if
but-
we have comments like, I need to know more about this, we still need to choose a limited number of things that we all agree we want to learn more about.
But
I don't-
perhaps having those additional questions or items could help make a compelling case? I don't know. I'm
It's-
weird
yeah,
that we're
I'm
not
just
going to get
talking
to
about- I'm just
5.
talking about
Yeah.
having the ability to make comments, not just do numbers. That's what I'm trying to say.
Just keep in mind that we can't set up a poll where other people see each other's comments
Right.
back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
That would be a meeting.
No, so that's why I was saying a survey where each of us enters once. And we say,
Mhm.
here are voting, and here are comments about those items, if we have a comment. And then that gets collected behind the scenes by
It's probably a way to do that.
you.
Do that.
And then,
Yeah, we can do that. I could see how that could get formatted. And is everyone still okay with sort of like, if you're only going to have comments, but only having comments on the top 5 selections that you're choosing, as opposed to making a comment about all 16? Or are you envisioning you
but are
want
you,
comments on all
so
of
if
these?
I say 5 things and Megan says 5 other things, now we have no overlap by chance.
I'm hoping that with everybody participating that we end up with overlap and that at the end of this we actually get some sort of ranked system where
I think-
maybe 5 people voted for an item and then 4 people voted for an item. Like,
I think
yeah.
I'm probably overthinking it.
Maybe a little.
It's just trying.
I was going to say, like, I really like that idea, but I also am no technology, and there probably is a way to do that, but I guess I'm pitching an idea too. Maybe, like, we do the ranking, but while we're ranking, maybe we, like, make notes on the side, and then we can bring them and the comments to the next meeting, and maybe go around, because I think we'd be allowed to say, like, this is our top 5, like, this is our ranks, this is what we chose at the meeting. So if, like, maybe we go around or something and say, these are my top 5, this is, like, what I want to know about, these are, like, for this one, I want, like, a workshop, or for this one, I want to know more about it. Or it doesn't even just have to be for your top 5, but, like, kind of having the numbers, but also having, like, a conversation at the same time.
Yeah, so it goes back to just ranking them, and then we bring our comments. I can do that.
Yeah. Is that okay? Okay.
I'm a little afraid that I'm like, I want to put what, I'm sort of,
Do you feel
like
strongly
at
that like there's
16.
one that you really, really want us to do? Like, I guess
no,
that's the
I don't
right,
have a number
yeah.
one. I don't have a
Okay.
number 16. All of these look great. So I don't know how to, that's why I'm.
I mean,
getting a
ranking
little-
them's
that's why
gonna
I'm
be
like,
really
it's
hard.
good or not, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really looking at, this is one that I think is important or not important, not like this one's more important than another one. Although I would end up with some that are not important.
Okay, what I'll do, I'm going to go
I'm
ahead, I'm going to
struggling.
think about that survey and the survey format. I think Scott and I will work on it a little bit together. Maybe we'll ask for some
we could do-
input.
we'll
We'll
just-
figure it out.
We'll do whatever you want to do.
We'll figure it out.
And if
Okay.
if we need to rediscuss it, maybe we can.
We can. All right, so I realize that it is almost 8:30. We have had some meetings in the past where they have gone 2 hours. I've heard feedback from commission members that 2-hour meetings are intense, and getting out of here at 9 is really hard. So I want to try and honor being able to have meetings, especially when there's some spirited discussion going on, where we kind of can stick to at least getting out by 8:30 as a reasonable time. I realize we didn't get to the discussion of the top 3 that we want to work on, but I can also see that being an outcropping of the furthering the discussion about sort of what are the top 5 things we want to study. Maybe we put some effort behind the top 5 things we want to study. Cool. Great. I don't think that there are any, but please correct me if I'm wrong, that we need to have any sort of motions or votes on anything that we have done here this evening, as this is just sort of brainstorming and idea formation. I will, we may have to put some of the top 5 things up for a vote at the next meeting. We'll try and figure that out, and I'll try and follow Robert's rules for that to the best of my weak ability. And are there any other questions about what we've discussed just now? Okay. See, I'm sorry, I didn't pass the, never mind. I didn't, yeah. I didn't pass the chair to Andy while I was moderating from up here, so I'm sorry. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to move into announcements, if that's okay and not too jarring of a transition. Yes.
So as your one of your staffy people, I will be glad to try and answer any questions you've got in that,
Thank you.
as you're trying to self-educate and be educated.
Would
Give me a
you
list of questions.
like to hear from individuals, to contact you individually, or would you like questions to sort of come through Scott's office or me?
Yes, I would like things to come through either you to Scott or to Scott, and then Scott can filter them to me.
Okay. So we won't send you 10 separate emails from 10 different people.
Cool.
Okay.
I work with Scott.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I'm sorry, I do. How are we going to add the goals that Marcus suggested? I thought that was a really good point to our list of priorities.
So the simple answer is I'm not totally sure yet, but Marcus is going to send the goals along, and I have a feeling that some of the implementation strategies that were discussed here tonight actually fit in to some of the goals on that list. And so in any documentation or survey that we send out, I can maybe dig a little bit deeper and see which goal the implementation strategy refers back to and kind of note it there. Is that okay?
In the table of the implementation strategies, it actually refers back to the goals. It's like column number 4 or 5, and it says what goals and objectives that implementation strategy is pointing back to. And some of the strategies point back to multiple goals. So if you come up with a new strategy, you can probably figure out which goal or goals it is fulfilling. And that's kind of you get to make the call as to what goal that strategy fulfills. But just put a number to it so we can fit it in with those goals.
Great. One other thing that just comes to mind is if any of the strategies that we've named here tonight are just strategies that like the city is not working on, not studying, there's no way we're going to be talking about this in the future, I'll share this list with you. So if there's anything like that that appears, we may not have that appear on the list. I just don't get the sense that at this time, at this point in the city and the city's capital planning project and where they're at with comprehensive planning, that we can just send totally new things to them. I mean, easily. Okay, all right. Cool. Any other questions? I'm gonna figure out what to do with this document later, and I'm gonna move back to my seat for now. Thank you. It's saved on the desktop too. Okay, we have a few announcements this evening. They are for multiple events. So on October 17th from noon to 1 at the Urbana City Building, Midwest Grows Green and the Champaign County Sustainability Network will host a lunch and learn on compost top dressing. Interesting. Also on 10/17 from 5:30 to 7:30 at Broadway Food Hall, Midwest Grows Green will host a green drinks event, so please join us for that. On October 19th, from 7 to noon at Urbana Market at the Square, we'll have Midwest Grows Green tabling for providing information to the public about that, about those efforts and that campaign. Solar power hours are ongoing. Is there a website that someone should visit for learning more about when the solar power hours are?
SolarUrbanaChampaign.com.
Okay, great. And those are going to be to learn how homes and businesses can take advantage of the Urbana Champaign Solar 4.0 program, 3.0, 4.0 program. Also, the Solar Urbana Champaign program is tabling at Market at the Square on Saturdays for multiple dates, so be sure to stop by and say hi to folks at that table and learn a little bit about solar. I think that they've got some demonstration solar panels at the table. And then going backwards in dates, on August 23rd through August 24th is the Urbana Sweet Corn Festival, and U-Cycle will be tabling and also working on a project to compost the corn cobs from the festival. I will plug that. I will be volunteering, I think on Saturday. I've heard from Courtney, who is the recycling coordinator for the city of Urbana, that she is looking for volunteers in 2-hour blocks for Friday evening and on Saturday. So I have one of the blocks on Saturday, I think in the middle of the afternoon. There are other blocks open. So please reach out to Courtney, or you can kind of reach out to me if you're interested in volunteering at the Sweet Corn Festival. And I'm sure that Courtney and U-Cycle would be very excited to have us as volunteers. Are there any other announcements that didn't appear? Okay, all right. There is no old business to discuss this evening, and so with no further business before the commission this evening, I will call to adjourn the meeting.